virtual session on the Advanced Professional Study in School-Based Practice online certificate offered through our Department of Occupational Therapy. We are so happy that you were able to join us today for this virtual information session. Before we begin, please make sure that your microphone is muted. If you have any questions, please be sure to type them into the Q&A chat window, and we'll make sure to address your questions to our panelists. If you have any general, if you have any non-general or personal and specific questions, they can email directly to angela.foss@tufts.edu. Again, thank you for joining us. Today we have Margaret Morris, who goes by Peggy. She is the Program Director and Certificate Advisor for the Advanced Certificate. And we also have Angela Foss, who is a Program Administrator for our School of Arts and Sciences Certificate Programs. Let's start with Peggy. Peggy, thank you for joining us. Could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Sure, thanks, Anna. Hi, everybody. My name is Peggy Margaret, if you're my mother. Good, people are laughing. I'm an occupational therapist by trade. You can see that I've been an occupational therapist for a really long time. I'm going to consider that experience and wisdom and not necessarily old. I've worked in Massachusetts public schools for about 25 years. Worked also in EI, early intervention services. What else in terms of where I've worked? I'm working at Tufts University. I've moved in from clinical work into teaching graduate occupational therapy students here at Tufts, and actually came through the school's courses myself when I did my doctorate work here, and stood that the real need for turning evidence into practice, and really what this certificate is all about. That's me.
Thank you, Peggy. Angela, please introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Angela Foss. I'm the Program Administrator for the certificate programs in the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences. I'm Peggy to assist answering any questions that you may have. I also act as the liaison to faculty and other academic departments once you're here on campus, or not on campus, but once you've registered. I'm here to welcome you to make sure that you feel like you're part of the Tufts community. So an email address was listed at the beginning. It's also at the end of this presentation. So feel free to contact me if you have any questions or if I could be of assistance.
Angela, we're so happy you've been able to join us today. So let's get started by having Peggy tell us, an audience, why should someone pursue an advanced certificate for occupational therapy?
I think I want to start by telling you why I did, because I did do this advanced certificate here at Tufts before I landed in the OTD program. I was working in school system and wanting to have a better foundation of evidence would help me tell parents, tell advocates, tell teachers, tell principals, tell my special ed director what would be best practice in a particular area. Time is really precious during your workday at school. Make sure that you're being as effective and efficient as possible. So that's, I think, one of the reasons why I did the advanced certificate. I'm also the daughter of a teacher, so I think she expects me to go to school for the rest of my life. The other pieces that I think really sort of supported my practice is that I'm able to have access to resources here at Tufts. We have a wonderful library. And the ability to go in and dive into an area of clinics, of school-based practice, whatever you wanted to, you could actually go in and find some really good information to support decision-making when you're sitting at the table with the rest of the educational team. So those pieces, I think, is why I decided to come back and do an advanced certificate. I do feel like it is that. It's going back to school for yourself. It's supporting yourself to be the best practitioner that you can be. The other about taking the courses in this certificate is that the occupational therapists who are certified through our National Board of Certification in OT, we need professional development credits, and every 3 years we need to accrue 36 of those. And one university course over a semester actually gets you to a little bit more than 36. So you can actually take care of your PDPs by taking even just one of the courses in the certificate. That's, I think, probably the reason now, and hopefully folks will ask questions and we can talk about why for them.
Absolutely. Thank you, Peggy, for letting them know specifically that our certificate program can help them earn the credits towards certification. And I just want to remind our audience that if you have any questions, please send them in the Q&A chat window, and both he and Angela will be able to answer them. So let's talk about why should someone do our certificate program, Peggy, in particular?
When we were deciding to move this, so this is a certificate program that was face-to-face, and we decided in our department to move it toward an online offering for a variety of reasons. And as we were doing that, we actually looked at other universities offering occupational therapy programs, and we actually didn't see a certificate that was solely for school-based practice. We found one that was more general pediatric practice on a specific population in autism. It's so that we've built a unique certificate here that you probably won't find anywhere else. I am myself a bit of a special education lead geek, and understand that therapists work in schools are by the little aspects of IDEA, and we need to understand those and how they're implemented district to district. Piece that the program is really built around is done into what are best practices in evaluation and intervention. What is strengths-based lens and more of an occupation-based approach versus a deficit approach, which many occupational therapists have as part of our education. I have that too. So to sort of flip that lens around and start to look at strengths in our students, evaluate them, and actually use their strengths in intervention as we accommodate for their challenges. So I'm going to be really honest with you guys. I love face learning, and yet I created an online program. And before I did that, I actually became a student in an online course at a different university and understood the power of creating this online community. You may, if you choose, keep connected after this certificate ends, and the idea that we can support each other in this online community, I think, is a really nice support mechanism for best practice going forward as well.
That's actually a really good point about doing online courses, because I was about to ask you, which the program from face-to-face to online, do you feel like it lost anything or gained anything, or was it about the same?
I'm going to think it gained a little bit. I know there are folks that certainly prefer face-to-face learning, and I was one of those learners, although now I understand the flexibility that comes from online learning and online teaching is actually, it really supports me and where I am now. I like being able to sort of learn on the go. I think the things that have changed for the better are much more of a focus on what are the current issues for school-based therapists right now. There's a huge national conversation on caseload versus workload, and I'm just easily able to work those things into online class. It's just easy, I think. So
I would like to point out to people that even though we have a beautiful Tufts campus, it is definitely easier for people that don't necessarily have the time to travel to the Boston area and stay for a certificate program to take courses. That online is just significantly more easier nowadays for working professionals. So I think that's a great option that our Department of Occupational Therapy has provided for people. Thank you, Peggy. So first format, can you say a little bit about what the students will be expected as if they would enroll and after being admitted?
Sure. And before I do that, my good buddy over here, Angela Foss, reminded me, even though this is an asynchronous online course, I actually do a lot of virtual face-to-face interaction over WebEx, just like this.
Oh, good.
You'll do at least one over the course of a semester, 2 or 3. You need it when you're working on your project. So even though I might not be physically available, I am always virtually available to students, and just wanted to let people know that.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
So as we think about the course format, it's set up in a series of 3. The first 2 that you're seeing on the screen there can be taken in either order, but the third needs to be last in that series. So the spring semester, which we're actually doing now, just finishing up this Therapy in Schools Best Practice, is really about do larger programmatic issues like the specification process, integrating integrated goals on an IEP, understanding how to manage your caseload and your workload, look at the evaluation tools that we might be using in schools, and then head to the evidence on evidence-based practice according to the least restrictive environment, which is part of IDEA 04. Understanding that students with special education needs should receive services along a continuum. So think of a ladder that's laying down, or even a ladder going up, I think is a good way to think about it. But there's a continuum of services. So there's consultation, there's working in the class, there's expectation in the law to provide services on behalf of students. So make sure you reach out to teachers, making sure that you consult with parents, making sure that you have time to create adaptive equipment if that's what's needed. Talk about all of the sort of the nuts and the bolts of your life in schools in that spring semester, but we also throw in some of those larger issues too. The first course. The second course in the series, you have a choice. Our summer semester is a little shorter, so our spring semester is a traditional 13 weeks. The semesters are 6 weeks, so it's a little bit intense. It's the same amount of work, same credit, but so it's a little bit more intense. If we were meeting face-to-face, we'd be meeting twice a week versus once a week. So just to give you an idea that it's even a shorter time period, it's the same amount of credit work. And those 2 courses that are available, they're both online, is working with children with autism and then working with children and adolescents with self-regulation issues. And you're going to say, what's the difference? Because many times our students with autism have self-regulation issues. So let me talk just a little bit about both of those. The working with children with autism course, we actually read one is called Neurotribes, which is a really broad look at the historical process of diagnosis. The second book is called Uniquely Human by Barry Prezant. It's really a strengths-based approach. So we read those 2 books as we go along the summer semester, and then we'll also look at particularly what is the evidence around interventions for children on the spectrum. And as part of your work course, you'll be doing a presentation in something called VoiceThread, which is a collaborative tool, and get taught that within the course about case study for a student with autism. The working with children and adolescents with self-regulation issues is different, and we're not looking necessarily at a particular particular population. There's a lot of children and adolescents who have self-regulation needs. Reading a book right now, it's called Barefoot and Balanced, an occupational therapist who's looking at even helping children who are growing up not necessarily have time out in nature, and understanding play in mud, and self-regulating, making your own rules, those kinds of things. It's a really interesting book. Anyway, this is a course that looks at certainly sensory regulation, but I think there are larger issues than sensory regulation for our children. Attentional regulation, and then we'll go into even, I think, a broader one, which is social and emotional regulation issues. So we dive into those big three areas and look at what the evidence is saying about interventions and occupational therapy role within those interventions for those areas of regulation. The fall semester, we're back on a 13-week semester, and it's a mentored seminar in schools practice. And this one I'm actually really excited about. I want each student in the certificate, course certificate, to be able to the research that we've tackled in these courses, or even something else that you're passionate about, is to come up with a plan for something that you might want to change at work, and have our online support you in making a plan for that change. You don't have to do the plan to pass this course. I want you to feel like you have support making a plan. And so by support, I mean the people here in the cohort, in the learning cohort, but also the support that I can provide with you, getting into the literature, helping you distill the literature, and coming at a solution to something that you want to change at work from an evidence-based lens. That's really what I hope that mentored seminar can be. It'll be very individualized. Everybody will have their own project based on what they want to plan. Oh, you do there.
Put your slide up there. But going back to the course format, a question about for you. Do students have to log in at a certain time? Can they just log in any time throughout the 13 weeks? Expect from them in terms of the online portion of the course?
So the learning management system that Tufts uses is called Canvas. So you'll be introduced to Canvas, and you don't need to log in every day, but you need to log in every week. The way that I usually organize the online learning activities is with a roadmap, and I'll give you the tasks for that week. You will have due dates for posting in the discussion forum. Yeah, I'll put a prompt about one of the readings or one of the pieces of research we read, and I ask everyone in the learning community to post by a certain date. It's usually the end of the week, sometimes the weekend, to give everybody a chance, like to get a little work done on the weekend if you need it. And then I also have an expectation that you will read those posts from peers and then comment on them. So that's sort of the ways that I can help us create a learning community, is to have that expectation. The entire course isn't open. I will open them up as we go along. I don't like to overwhelm people. And I actually don't necessarily think it's really good for people to work too far ahead. I like to keep you all sort of thinking about the same topic and sort of immersed in that topic as we go to those discussion boards to touch you.
Peggy, you started discussing the mentored seminar. Can you go into a little bit more depth with that? And it mentions that you partner with Tufts faculty. So if this is an online certificate, how do our online students choose a mentor? Do they have to read bios, or do you assign them?
So at this point, I'm a faculty mentor. I'm the person in the OT department that has probably the most experience with school-based issues. I can certainly bring in other folks in terms of expertise in a particular area. Right now, you'd be partnering with me, and I'd be leading you through your search for evidence about your particular you would like to change at work. So
Great. move on. Why do you think students should enroll at Tufts? You mentioned a little bit about why you decided to do it, but what do you think would be pertinent for a student to enroll into your certificate at Tufts?
So a picture of our building, the occupational therapy department is housed in this building with a few other departments. Even though you won't be on campus, you could certainly see this picture. The reason I think why Tufts is I just have found a tremendous amount of support here for thinking outside of the box, for in their mission as clinicians. I think that's a huge piece of us. And of me in particular, in terms of developing this certificate, I've been very supported in terms of myself taking online courses that a certificate in online teaching. So Tufts has supported the development of this program. So what I support will continue within this program. The other parts about Tufts are the researchers that are here. The faculty, amazing and dedicated to their students. And I think the biggest thing is students. The students in our programs are entrepreneurs and creative thinkers and fabulous makers for things for their clients. So I just find it a really vibrant community here. And my hope is that we can extend that vibrancy through this online offering as well.
Anything to add to this from what you've seen throughout the years for our certificate students? How would Tufts be the best place for them to do this online certificate?
Echo what Peggy said, just as far as the world-renowned. Also, I know that this is important to some folks, but just the ranking of the OT program throughout nationally. So the fact that it's a long-standing program with the rich at Tufts, and also we really work hard to make you feel supported, and you won't be on campus, part of the community, and you have plenty of resources to talk to other students that are in the program as well, the online community, so that you have this feeling in a cohort. And Peggy is awesome too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Let's talk a little bit about the application requirements, because people do have to apply and be admitted into the certificate program. So, Peggy, can you tell us a little bit about what you're expecting from people in terms of their background, or what would make them a successful applicant in terms of reviewing their personal statement? Because all the application requirements are on the screen. For those who see the screen, it's $85 application fee, a personal statement, resume or CV, TOEFL scores if applicable if you are an international student who did attend an English-speaking institution. We require your transcripts. They can be unofficial at the time that you apply, and then we require official transcripts if you are admitted, and then one of recommendation. So, Peggy, to reiterate my question, what are you looking for in a successful applicant that will be admitted in terms of their background and a strong personal statement?
I just want to add one little to that checklist that you've got on the slide, and that we do require a bachelor's degree in order to continue to tie it into the program. In terms of who I think would make a strong applicant, the certificate is designed, this online format, for the working professional. The idea that you are working in school-based that is the ultimate kind of person that will be applying. That person is probably a lifelong learner and is interested in onboarding some new knowledge or even validating some knowledge they have that they just might not be sure whether that's worthy thinking or not. Practice can tend to be an isolating practice. Therapists usually work in isolation in schools, even though we might have several OTs within a district. We're all usually working in our own schools, and to think about wanting a coach to talk you through some issues, knock you off the ledge, talk to you about going for something that you really think you want or to change. If you are at all wanting to understand how to translate some of the current evidence into actual practice in your day, today job is another characteristic I think that would bring a person to think about for this certificate. What was the second thing, Roxanne?
I was just asking about what would make a strong personal statement. Like, what are you looking for with an applicant's personal statement to say, yes, this person would be a great addition to our program?
I think what I'll be looking to read in a personal statement is if you've already identified some areas that you might want to change at your work. I don't think you need to necessarily land on one in your personal statement, but have an idea of coming into this program with the goal of getting something out of it. It's to go in to a class and learn something, but I want you to leave this certificate program with an action plan for change in your practice that you want to change. And I'm going to call it an evidence-based action plan going forward.
Maggie, and I just want to let everyone know that just today, to participate in our virtual information session, we will be waiving the application fee. So you'll be able to apply without submitting the $85 application fee. We have taken down your name. If you logged in without using your real name for an application, then going on to the next slide, please send an email to Angela Foss at angela.foss@edu and let Angela know that you did log into our virtual information session. And when you apply, we will waive your application fee. We have Peg here. We have Andrew. If you have any last-minute questions, let us know. Get to the Q&A chat window. We have time to answer questions. If like Peggy was thorough, which she was, thank you, Peggy. You went through a lot of information today. If you have personal questions, again, send them to Angela, and she'll get them answered as soon as possible. Take time to view our website. The URL is listed on your screen. And explore our occupational therapy website as well. We have great programs. If you are interested in moving on to an OTD, we have an entry-level OTD. We have a advanced professional OTD. And we have wonderful faculty in the department. So actually, Peggy, you want to talk a little bit about the department as a whole? Because as a certificate student, they will be a part of the occupational therapy department, correct?
Yeah, sure. So the department is a combination of a lot of different specialists who are faculty and also a lot of different programs. We currently have an entry-level master's program, so we have students who are switching field or coming right from undergraduate school to go into our entry-level graduate program, and that's the 2 years on campus and then their field work. And have actually 2 post-professional programs. One is those professional master's programs. So if a person already has their bachelor's in occupational therapy, that would have happened in the States, a while ago, I became an occupational therapist bachelor's degree and then went back to school. For occupational therapists who attend Tufts from international distances and are a bachelor's trained occupational therapists in their own country come over and do our professional masters. We also have Roxana was talking about our post-professional OTD. Again, is evidence-based, really immersed in an area of practice.
Great.
We'd like to change, yeah.
Okay, so we do have a couple of questions from our audience. The first question is, how many total credits is the certificate program? I know Tufts is going through a type of credit change. We're moving to semester hour units. But could you tell us how many credits the certificate is?
Sure. So after that change happens, which is starting this summer, each of the 3 courses is 3 credits, so a total of 9 credits.
Great. They should keep that in mind also for recertification. 3, and then someone also asked, how many students are in each cohort approximately?
It varies. I'll be really honest with you. I just looked at the enrollment for the 2 summer courses, and there are working occupational therapists in those courses, but our graduate students here in the OT department also take those courses. I also have, this past spring, I had 2 teachers in the spring course, and I just saw an undergraduate student from our psychology department in one of the summer courses. So there's a range of variability in the learner. I think that benefits everybody that's there.
Also great for to know that Tufts is very interdisciplinary. So the fact that you have students that may have a different perspective in your courses actually helps the students think out of the box in terms of their work in occupational therapy. Would you agree, Peggy?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, great. We do another question. What is the workload like in comparison to typical graduate level courses? So the person's saying, for those of us who are already dealing with a full-time workload, including writing reports and IEPs, what would they expect in this certificate program in terms of their course load?
So those 13-week semesters first is considered a 3-credit course. And what that really means is if, again, we were meeting face-to-face, you and I would be in class for 3 hours, and then would be your preparation and your homework. So I want to say that maybe thinking about 6 to 10 hours, and that can vary with within each module or week, but probably getting back into, if you haven't been, reading on a regular basis, sometimes it's get back into that. But that's for those 13-week courses. So thinking somewhere about 6 to 9. I think as you get into the swing of how the course is organized, then that becomes easier. When I ask you to use a particular piece of technology in the course, I'll actually set up a little practice with it. So there might be a little of understanding some of the technology that we use, and once you get comfortable there, I think that time can collapse a little bit. The 6-week course, which are the summer courses, are probably not quite double that amount, but they're pretty intense because they are a university graduate level course that's done within 6 weeks. It's at all.
We have a question regarding the mentored seminar. Are you able to access the course syllabus to have an in-depth understanding about what will be covered in the mentored seminar?
absolutely. I'm happy to share any of the syllabi with any of those, for any of those courses. The mentored seminar is going to be a little bit different. I will have some topics for consideration, but in terms of individual students picking topics, that's going to be very individualized with me. So it will be, say someone really wants to think about how do I encourage a workload approach in my practice. Then you and I would be talking over WebEx and email and phone, and we would set up a plan for what you're going to be doing over that semester. So you and I would actually be creating your syllabus together. I'll do backwards planning. So what do you want to end up with at the end of that semester? So say what you wanted to end up with was like a script to talk to your special education director about, thinking about how can I talk to this about workload versus caseload. And then we do sort of a backwards plan. So what do we need a month before the end of that semester? What do we need to do 2 months before the end of the semester? And I would be helping you set that up. So again, it's really based on what you want to learn in order to foster sort of a best practice change in your practice.
I think that's something else to point out to our audience. This is a very personalized approach to a certificate to help you grow professionally in occupational therapy. So I think that is something that's very distinct compared to any other certificates that may be out there that could be related. We do have one more question. It is being sent to me right now. And again, I just want to remind our audience we have a few more minutes left. So if you do have any questions, please type them in the Q&A chat window. This next question is, does this certification cover any of the post-professional OTD requirements? Is it overlap or are they two totally different programs?
Both of them. They are two totally different programs. The certificate is different than the OTD, the post-professional OTD, but if someone is interested in applying for the post-professional OTD, they can bring in 2, now it would be 6 credits. They could bring in 2 classes into the OTD. Does that make sense?
That answers our question. Wait. I'm just going to see if Eddie has any additional questions. If personal questions, again, please, as a reminder, send angela.foss@tufts.edu to take a look at our departmental website to explore our certificate requirements, the courses that are offered for the certificate, and maybe explore our additional programs, our master's, our OTD, to occupational therapy. Well, we have very many other questions. Do you have any last words for us, Peggy and Angela?
One thing to add.
Yes, please.
The application deadline is in December, but we very much encourage early applications to be submitted. We review them on a basis, so the sooner that you apply, the sooner that you would be able to confirm that you were admitted to the program. And anything that you could submit early so that we don't have any minute kinds of requests. But again, please feel free to contact me, and I'm happy to connect you with Peggy. There's questions you have related to that might be appropriate for a current student. We'd be happy to try to address those as well.
And I would say,
Angela.
I'm sorry.
I'm just thinking, Angela.
And I would say to the group sort of to sort of give yourself this time, this learning time. Again, I think most occupational therapists are lifelong learners, and digging into current research and thinking about evidence-based practices and space changes will only benefit our students in the long run.
Thank you so much, Peggy, for joining us today and telling us all about this fantastic certificate program that is very unique, and a little bit more information about our occupational therapy program, which is world-renowned and one of the top programs in the country. And thank you, Angela, for also being here with us today and letting everyone know that you are here to support them, even though it is an online certificate. Tufts does its very best to support all of its students, no matter where they are joining us from. I wanted to thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Again, if you did participate with us today, we will be offered an application fee waiver. And be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. And if you have any questions that are just about applying to any of our graduate programs, you can also email the admissions office, in addition to Angela. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your school.
Thanks, Dr.
Bye.
Bye.